Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some treasures aren't lost, they're buried, not to be forgotten, but to be formed. And maybe that's why your spirit has felt tucked away, shielded, almost like life dimmed your light on purpose. But it wasn't punishment, it wasn't delay, it was preservation. Because what God placed inside you has never been ordinary, and anything carrying that much weight can't be rushed into visibility. It has to be built, protected, matured in silence. Before the reveal comes the retreat, and that's the part no one sees. The quiet seasons, the unseen growth, the conversations you had with God in your lowest moments, the ones you never repeated to anyone. Those weren't wasted, they were recorded. Heaven doesn't forget the ones it prepares in private. That ache of invisibility you felt? That wasn't abandonment. That was the echo of something sacred still forming shape. Think of how diamonds are born, not in the light, not on the surface, but under pressure, in stillness, hidden where only time, heat, and God's hand can reach. And when they finally rise, they don't explain how long it took. They just shine. That's the energy you're stepping into now. You're not coming out to prove yourself. You're stepping out because something inside you has finally settled. It's not the same hunger for validation. It's not the same chase for attention. This is different. Because this time you're not arriving as someone who needs to be seen. You're arriving as someone who knows who they are, even if no one else claps yet. And that kind of presence, that kind of internal peace, it changes things. It shifts the air when you walk in. It softens your words and strengthens your silence. You don't have to yell to be heard anymore. You just exist, and people feel it. Because God didn't hide you to withhold anything. He hid you the way artists cover a masterpiece while it's still in progress. The way gardeners wait for the right season before exposing a fragile bloom to the sun. The way architects build deep foundations before ever letting the frame touch the sky. What was happening in your silence was sacred, even if no one knew what to call it, even if people misunderstood your quiet, even if it felt like you were being passed over. You weren't overlooked, you were being overbuilt for something your past self could have never carried. And now, the veil is thinning. You're feeling it, aren't you? That strange clarity, that growing sense that the fog is lifting, that the same doors that once seemed bolted shut are starting to open before you knock. This is not random. This is revealing time. And you're not being launched with noise or fanfare. You're being revealed with precision, quiet power. Because silence is not the absence of movement. It's the sound of depth being formed. And the truth is, not everyone was meant to witness your building season. Not everyone had the language to understand what you were carrying. That's why the isolation had to be divine. So no one could mislabel your process. So no one could take credit for what they didn't shape. Because this version of you, it wasn't built by approval. It was built by obedience, by showing up in the dark, by holding on when there was no evidence, by loving God even when he felt quiet. And that kind of development doesn't come with loud announcements. It comes with subtle shifts. It comes with walking past the places that used to confuse you and realizing you don't need their answers anymore. It comes with noticing that your spirit is no longer craving noise, but choosing peace, over and over again, even when that peace costs you people, even when it costs you being misunderstood, because you've realized being hidden by God is better than being seen by the wrong ones. And now that it's time to be revealed, you're not walking out of hiding desperate to be recognized. You're walking forward steady, rooted, already crowned from the inside out. And that's what makes this moment different. It's not about being discovered. It's about being deployed. You know, when something precious is forming, it stays hidden. And you know that now, deep in your bones. But let's be honest, that hidden season wasn't glamorous. It wasn't glowing with certainty or wrapped in peace all the time. It felt like sitting in a room full of open doors that somehow still wouldn't open for you. And the silence you were handed, it wasn't soft, it was sharp. You've had nights where your chest felt heavy for no clear reason, where your spirit was tired even after a full night's sleep, where the question wasn't, "Am I chosen?" It was, "Why does being chosen feel so hard?" And here's the part no one talks about. Sometimes the spiritual weight didn't feel sacred. It felt like being forgotten. You watched people move on, get recognized, get celebrated for less than you've been carrying in secret for years. And still, you kept showing up. Not because it made sense, but because something deep in you wouldn't let you quit. That was the formation, not the highlight reel. The part where your soul stopped needing validation, where your spirit started learning how to hold tension without collapsing, where your identity was no longer tied to being seen, but to being real. And now you're starting to feel the shift, not just in your mind, but in your life. Little things are happening. People speak to you with more weight in their voice. Conversations go deeper without you forcing them to. You walk into a room and feel undeniably aware that the energy around you has already rearranged itself. That's not your imagination. That's alignment reaching the surface. You're not trying to be magnetic. You've just become honest. And that kind of spiritual honesty has a frequency of its own. You're not forcing favor anymore. You're recognizing it. And here's the truth you finally get to admit. It wasn't just that God was hiding you. It was that He was protecting the story until it was strong enough to walk without explanation. That story now is you. The healed parts that still remember the pain, but don't live in it. The calm that isn't fake, it's fought for. The grace you offer without even speaking, just by being steady in a room full of scattered energy. And now, it's starting to show. The people who didn't look twice before are noticing the weight in your silence. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you finally don't need to be understood to feel valid. That's the real glow-up. Not the visibility, but the detachment from needing it. You used to wonder, when will someone see what I carry? Now you realize the right ones already do. And the rest? They'll feel it soon enough. Because when God makes something undeniable, it doesn't ask for attention. It becomes attention. Not flashy, not loud, but felt deeply by anyone who comes near it. That's what your life is doing now, becoming the kind of presence that can't be reduced to a caption or a compliment. And yes, some people will be confused. They'll wonder when you changed, what happened, how you got here. But you'll know, you didn't suddenly arrive. You were refined. And because of that, this time, you're not afraid of success. You're not walking on eggshells waiting for it to disappear. You know what it cost. You know what it healed. And you know who made it happen. So no, this is not your peak. This is the first clear echo of what's been planted in silence for years. And it's not just growing anymore. It's rising, with no apology, no explanation, no rush, just God, proving every quiet season was never wasted, and that your story was never late, only protected, and now, finally, revealed. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.